Many wacky news from Russia this week, but the biggest is about massive corporate defaults. They have begun and they are triggering the domino effect. Howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Wednesdays. I give you crazy news update straight out of the mad circus that Russia has unfortunately become. But first things first, there is no such absurdity that cannot be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. And the news, I call them crazy news from Russia. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find anywhere in the mainstream media. Let me start with the positive news. Oh, I love starting with positive news. I want to set the good mood for today's news update. We all know that Russian senators have been working hard lately, and it's not a joke. Looking at the amount of bills, amendments, laws, legislative acts that they have created lately, they are at work. And some ideas that the lawmakers come up with are so insanely crazy that obviously it takes hard work and a lot of time just to think that stuff out. The good news is that not all Russian senators are working hard, overworking. Some are actually taking it a little bit easy. For example, the good senator Yuri Napso. Yeah, Russian senator. The guy worked extra hard for a long time being the senator, It takes all the juices out of you. And he decided to kick back and relax a bit. Well, quite a bit. He decided to work in the parliament and Russian parliament remotely. Hey, what's the big deal, right? Starting April 2023, Napso has not been inside the walls of the Russian parliament. That makes it 2 years, more than 200 work days. He has been living outside Russia, in Dubai, all that time. For 2 years, he remained acting senator, voting for bills, amendments, attending meetings, somehow conferences, remotely from Dubai. It only took the parliament and Napso's political party, LDPR, officials to notice that one of their own was absent, was missing, and one of their own was tricking them. They finally stripped Napso of his senator mandate. Yuri Napso is not fretting about it too much. He hasn't returned to Russia and most likely has no plans of returning. What a wonderful story. Russian parliament does not stop surprising us. Another piece of news is also positive. I like when people dress up nicely, when they wear beautiful, stylish clothes. And Valentina Matvienko, the Speaker of Upper Senate House of Russian Parliament, is stylish. I kid you not, just look at her jacket. Last week, she was seen at work, speaking at the upper house of the parliament, wearing a jacket made by French fashion house called Chanel. Wonderful, beautiful, stylish. The only thing is, something she said in the fall of 2023. I quote, "The fashion for everything Western that has gone morally bankrupt and discredited itself is irrevocably gone. And our citizens are increasingly supporting understandable Russian named domestic fashion brands. I like that, you know. Dear Mrs. Matvienko, I'm sure you can't stand morally bankrupt and discredited Chanel. I'm sure you have been seen wearing Western brand clothing. It's just an honest mistake on your side. Um, I'm sure that the Russian citizens will understand. After all, they are not the ones wearing Chanel. Another piece of news is about lies. 13 months ago, on March 22nd, 2024, a coordinated terrorist attack against civilians occurred in Moscow at the Crocus City Hall music venue in Crocus City, a large entertainment and shopping complex. One of the deadliest terrorist attacks that Russia has seen. 145 people were killed, 551 were injured, and 95 are still missing. The investigation into this terrorist attack is finished now. It's been concluded that the terrorists were recruited by the Afghan cell of the Islamic State, the ISIS, called Vilayat Khorasan. Wait a second, something's wrong here. That's not what Vladimir Putin and the KGB chief Alexander Bortnikov and the Russian propaganda were telling us 1 year ago, right after the terrorist act happened. All of them clearly stated that Ukraine and the West were involved. And now the official investigation is telling us that Ukraine and the West have nothing to do with that. There's not even a trace, there's not even a mention. What? This means that Putin and Bortnikov lied to us 1 year ago? No, that's impossible. They never lie. They're crystally honest leaders. What about the official investigation, you ask? Shh, get them out of the room. Their investigation is boring. No one is interested in to read that anyway. A bunch of official nonsense. Putin does not lie. Actually, the next news is not a Russian character, but an English one about Elton John, Sir Elton John. The Russian Prosecutor General's office has declared the charitable foundation of the musician Elton John undesirable in Russia. His foundation is called Elton John AIDS Foundation. It helps to prevent AIDS, and it helps people who, have AIDS. According to Russian officials, the goal of this foundation is more focused on promoting of non-traditional sexual relations, Western family models, and gender change, rather than on the fight against AIDS. The Prosecutor General's office also notes that Elton John's organization has a negative attitude towards the policies of countries that protect traditional values. And since the beginning of the war, they have been participating in an information campaign by the West to denigrate Russia. The AIDS Foundation has worked in Russia for multiple decades and helped, tens of thousands of people. Ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing degradation of Russia happening right in front of your eyes. More control is destroying everything that was good in my country in the past. Moving to quite unbelievable news. The US Treasury has lifted sanctions against Karina Karina Rottenberg. She is the wife of the billionaire and Vladimir Putin's close friend and his inner circle member, Boris Rottenberg. This is stated in a release on the Treasury's website. The reason for Karina Rottenberg's exclusion from the sanctions list is not specified. According to Forbes, it estimates, its estimation for 2025, Boris Rottenberg's fortune is $1.3 billion. I personally think it's a super modest estimation. In reality, he's got more money. What the? Somebody, please wake me up from this nightmare. The USA is lifting the sanctions of Boris Rottenberg's family. Then the USA sells golden visas, the green cards, for $5 million each to Russian oligarchs, the criminals who have supported waging the war on Ukraine and have been bragging about it. It looks awfully suspicious to me. It almost looks like someone inside the US Treasury is extra interested to help out bad guys from Russia. For a fee, perhaps. And that's in America. Someone, please, please, wake me up from this nightmare. Well, let's move to those rich men who have fled Russia. Yes, there are people like that, and there are more and more of them. 3 of Russia's richest billionaires asked not to be considered Russians. The American magazine Forbes has adjusted its annual ranking of the richest people in the world, indicating another country for 3 businessmen previously classified as Russia. Such changes usually occur at the request of businessmen themselves or their representatives, their offices. According to the updated rating, Andrei Melnichenko, the founder of Yevrohim and Suek companies, I know those companies personally, I worked with them in my previous life in Russia when I worked for a large energy company. So the founder of Yevrohim and Suek, whose fortune amounts to about $17.4 billion, now appears as a billionaire from the United Arab Emirates. He was ranked 7th in the Russian Forbes ranking last year, 2024, and 91st in the global list of the 200 richest people in the planet. The founder of the USM holding, Alisher Usmanov, whose fortune is a tiny bit lower, $16.7 billion, is now listed as a businessman from Uzbekistan. Last year, he was ranked 9th in Russian Federation ranking and 144th in the world ranking. Another businessman whose country has changed in the ranking is Mikhail Prokhorov, and his fortune is, it's not a big, not as big as the other ones. It's peanuts, really. $10.7 billion. He is now represented as a billionaire from Switzerland. He previously held the 11th place in Russia's Forbes list and was on the 190th place line in the global ranking. Now he is from Switzerland. Just like that, from Russia, then hope you're not Russian anymore. What about your past, I wonder? Can you erase it just like that? Oh, I've never been to Russia. Money? Oh, I'm Swiss, born and raised in Switzerland. What about the magazines, the books, the newspapers, the tax records from Russia? Me? That's not me. That's a guy from Russia. I'm from Switzerland. I'm from Dubai now. Okay. Wow. But the thing is, the exodus of Russians, rich and poor, continues. The next piece of news comes from Rostov on Don. That's the city where I was born and I grew up. It's a city located right next to the border with Ukraine and close to the front line, relatively close. It's full of military people. And the next scene is usual these days. I'd never seen anything like that in real life before, because it was just unheard of. It was we didn't have that. But now the next scene is usual for Rostov and other Russian cities. Check this out. The man in the uniform is beating old lady. She's on the ground. He threw her on the ground. And all she's asking is to remove his car. The man in the uniform with a chevron, most likely Russian armed forces. Hard to say from the video where, which part of the armed forces. He beat the old lady, throwing her on the ground for her telling him he couldn't park his car there. Older guy shaming him. I'm not talking to you, I'm shaming you, the old man says. Says it's horrible, terrible. Look at these people. The man also threatened the cameraman, also an old guy. And the old guy said, listen, I'm not talking to you, I'm shaming you. Shame on you. Look at this babushka. At such old age, she obviously is forced to work sweeping streets. That's how well the financial and economic situation in Russia for old people is, And this young serviceman does that to her. The older guy obviously knows this old lady, and he's trying to calm her down. He parked on a walkway. And I want you to see that again. He threw her on the ground. He beat her up. This isn't unique. Similar acts of aggression happen all over Russia these days, and frequently. This video is not really easy to watch, okay? It was hard for me, but it gives you a pretty good idea what is living in Russia is becoming like. I never saw that in the Russia that I knew, in the Russia where I lived. If something like that would happen to an old lady, people would jump on that butthole. Well, I guess he's a part of the armed forces. He's the veteran. One of our boys fighting in Ukraine, right? Perhaps he's armed, and they fear him. And this, I can't call them boys. Boys, as animals. They're coming back to cities and towns and villages, just like Rostov. Before moving to the next piece of news, I want to thank you. Those of you who are watching right now, who support me by watching my videos, by coming back, by liking, commenting, engaging, by being a part of Inside Russia community, thank you so much. Thank you for your prayers, for your love, for your messages. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymecoffee.com, for Patreon, for everything. Thank you so much. I every day I give you a promise that I keep on repeating it because it's important for me. Know that no matter what, monetized, not monetized, I haven't been making any money off YouTube for 8 months now, but it doesn't matter. Demonetized, still, I keep appearing in front of the camera every day to give you the truth about Russia. How Russia is transforming into something, well, pretty ugly, unfortunately. And I think it's very important to know. So thank you so very much for your support. The next piece of news is booze news. In 2024, sales of hard liquor in Russia, excluding vodka, grew by 10.2%, reaching a level of 3.2 liters per capita per year, according to analytical center called FinExpertise. This indicator has become the highest since 2017. At the same time, vodka sales remained at the level of the previous year, 5.3 liters per person, which is also the highest since 2017, and it has been at this level for the 3 years in a row. The total volume of sales of hard liquor increased by 3.7% over the year and reached 8.5 liters per capita. In pre-war 2021, this number was 7.4 liters. So, thus, since the beginning of the war, the consumption of hard liquor in Russia has increased by 14%. The sales of other alcoholic beverages, including beer, including beer-like drinks, wine, cider, etc., reached an 8-year high, amounting to 57.7 liters per capita per person. 57.7. That's excluding hard liquor. I wonder why Russians have started drinking like there's no tomorrow. Well, perhaps there is no tomorrow in Russia for them. The next piece of news is exclusive, something you will not find anywhere else. I look through different sources on the news all the time, from morning till night. That's besides preparing my messages and delivering them, that's all I do. And the last week, I noticed something strange, something I haven't seen over 35 years. Friends, this is gold, okay? Again, you will not find it anywhere. It's only here in my head. The advertisement of certain services. And here it is. I want you to check it out. Do you know what it is? It's all over Telegram channels. A used car ordering from Europe. Instead of buying a new Chinese or Russian car in Russia, these people who have placed this ad offer to go to Europe, usually Germany or sometimes Poland, and buy a used car, any car you order, any car you like, in mint condition, and that would be a much better deal than buying in Russia. Now, these services were madly popular when I was young, when I was growing up. In early and mid 90s, even my friends, fellow university students, made such car trips to Germany. What you bought used in Germany was much cheaper and much better quality than could be bought in Russia. Then the epoch of car trip the time of car trips to Europe ended, the car manufacturers came to Russia and started selling directly to customers, and the market became civilized. Because in the 90s, it was not civilized. There were no representation of car manufacturers in Russia, and it was what is called gray market, okay? It's only what you brought, brand new or used, okay? And of course, Russian-made crap. In about 2001, 2002, the auto dealers started, auto manufacturers started coming to Russia officially, establishing themselves, providing warranty, providing civilized services, just like you get anywhere else in Europe, in the United States, in Canada. The system worked like that. So there was a company, the manufacturer of cars, for example, BMW, and that would establish an office in Russia, and that would be called BMW Russia. And then it would employ lots of independent companies as dealers, and it would give them the dealership rights to sell cars on terms of BMW, but through their own car salons. Okay, it worked in Russia just like it works anywhere in the world. And then the war in Ukraine started, and all car manufacturers left Russia immediately. And that's it. The only cars you can buy are Ladas, which no one wants to buy. They're overstocked right now. And the Chinese cars. They are disposable. There's also a problem with them. The Chinese came in and they sold lots of cars in the last 3 years. And now the cars break, but they can't fix them. So the Chinese companies, instead of, supplying parts from China, establishing, teaching technicians how to fix cars, that's what the car manufacturers do usually. Instead of that, they just leave Russia. They say, oh, you know what? We've sold enough. That's good enough. Okay. Thank you and goodbye. That's what the Chinese do. And what we're seeing right now, the car trip business to Europe has come back. And this was not just one ad that I saw last week. It was, it was quite a few. There's another one from Lipetsk, one from Rostov-on-Don. Every major city now has a few people who advertise the services. They literally started showing up just last week, okay? And now they're popping up all over the place. The same idea. We'll get you a car, a better one for cheaper. All you have to do is prepay us. We'll take your money, we'll run, fly, drive to Europe, buy a car for you, and it's going to be an awesome Mercedes, used 5-year-old, 6-year-old Mercedes coming from a German, mint condition, because Germans are like the best drivers. They maintain their cars the best because they like Wohnung. And that's it. You get the car, and it's much better deal for you than buying something here. This is so funny for me to see because I remember that. I remember when I came to the United States, and instead of gray market in Russia, I saw normal market. I was amazed. I loved it. And Russia, did fairly well for 20 years, and now. Back to the 90s. The 90s have come back indeed. And we start seeing it more and more everywhere. And even in Europe car trips now. By the way, there will be more news like that coming out every day. And it's already every day is a bunch of news. And if you want to keep up with other breaking news from Russia, become patron of Inside Russia. Because every single day I carefully select and post 9 news that I find important with my commentaries and analysis. It'll keep you informed on everything you want to know about Russia. And now you know where to ask. I'm going to place the link in the description and in the pinned comment below after this live stream ends. So give it a thought, give it a try. The feedback I get is mostly positive and mostly amazing. Check it out. Now, the next piece of news. And by the way, I apologize for running a little out of breath. Is I'm still fighting bronchitis. That's why it's not that easy for me to speak in a like fast way. I kind of like lose my breath once in a while. So the next piece of news is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. I apologize, but you have to see this, okay? I find it even barbaric and hard to believe. It comes from the top Russian church, one of the top Russian church bosses, the Archbishop Andrei Tkachev. That's the guy who has appeared on my channel quite a few times. And every time he says something, it's more outrageous than what he said before. In today's speech, I guess it was one of his, meeting the believers and him preaching to the believers. And it's about the role of woman in family. Check this out. I'll be translating to you. I can tell to all unbaptized women, you have not only husband who earns living for you, he can make you mother. You also have master, and husband is the meaning of life for you. When you got married and got husband, you found the meaning of your life, because life of a woman is meaningless without family, and only because your husband, your life has meaning. You must love him, be faithful to him, and be servant to your husband. Serve him and not be ashamed of it. You must be his supporter, and he must have a business, and you must support him in it. And this is the meaning of your life. And you must cry of happiness for that. The feminists would start running amok, and a normal woman would say, yes, it's true, amen. Is that shocking enough for you? What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. My comment is this. I don't even want to comment this guy. I just tell you this. Russia didn't used to be like this. Russian church didn't used to be like this. It's lawlessness. Lawlessness in the country, and chaos and lack of values inside people's heads. That's what it is. What do you think? Please let me know. I can't even ask you, do you agree with this guy? I don't think anyone would agree with him. But let me know what you think. Let me know I'm not alone, okay? Because sometimes I feel watching this stuff and commenting and talking about it, I feel I'm going nuts. But the thing is, I can't keep silence, because I think that this is today's Russia, and this is the truth. And you need to know. Everyone needs to know. The world needs to know. Look at what is happening there. The next piece of news is, well, you know what? I also don't know how to comment it. It's also religious, well, semi-religious. In Russia, they want to create a registry of married men to combat infidelity. There is a semi-religious public group called Sorakov. It has made a proposition to the parliament to create the registry of the married Russian men, so women would be able to check men's family status through the government site, Gosuslugi, of course. Is it before they start dating or what? Anyway, I just have one question. These people, do they have so much free time on their hands so they spill out nonsense? People, don't you have anything better to do? The next piece of news is from America. My channel is about Russia, and I usually don't comment things America. I don't comment American politicians. But sometimes actions happen, events unfold that influence Russia. And then that is in my expertise to comment. And this is one of such cases, okay? This, what is happening right now, is influencing Russia. We all know that the tariff or trade war between the USA and the world is heating up. Well, somehow, miraculously, Russia is out of the trade war. Basically, the rest of the world has been slapped with tariffs from the USA, by the USA, but Russia hasn't been. Okay. So anyway, there's a trade war, tariff war, but it's really a trade war going on between the USA and the world. And in the world, the main player, the key player is China. Okay, there's China, and then there's like everyone else combined. And China, and another big player is Europe, of course. The trade war is heating up, and Russia is also suffering. Although it's not a part of the trade war, it's sanctioned. The biggest effect that it's having on Russia is, and I mentioned it before, is global oil price. I thought that things are serious as this trade war is driving Russian oil prices down big time, okay? And that's going to it's influencing Russia already. Russian oil called Urals is trading at $50 right now. And it's really bad. That's a blow. And I thought it was taken to be taken seriously. And it definitely something to watch. And I thought it was a big deal. I started doing my analysis. I started doing the daily checks, how it will influence Russia in the future, etc. But when I watched these two videos, I actually relaxed. I want you to check them out too. This is the first video.
Take their cars, Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW. We take their millions of cars. They take no cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk. But there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past. Because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Well, once I watched this, I kind of said, okay, you know what? What do I know? I relax. Americans are going to be all right. Because it's definitely, it's going to sell more cars to Europe, for some miraculous reason. And the most important thing is Europe is going to compensate for everything it's done to the United States, for selling its wonderful cars for decades. So it's going to compensate for the past. And then I watched the second video that, check this out too.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
I'm relaxed. I'm fine. There's no stress anymore. You relax too. No big deal. This trade war, this guy knows what he's doing. After all, they're all lining up to kiss his buttocks. And I bet the Chinese are the first in line, They're just standing there waiting. Oh, Mr. President, let us kiss your buttocks. Oh, we'll do anything. And then the Europeans will pay for all the damage they did by selling their wonderful cars in America and delivering driving pleasure with BMWs and Volkswagens and Audis and Mercedeses and Porsches to Americans. Yeah, it's a damage, I guess. They will pay retrospectively. As economist, I say it doesn't make any sense. But what do I know? So I'm relaxed now, sitting back, enjoying the show, waiting for everyone to prosper, all the nations, those who are slapped with tariffs, those the United States who slapping them. This cross-slapping tariffs are going on. You see, I have popcorn right here. I used it to watch Russia going down, but now I'm doubling my popcorn. Now I'm also watching the trade war outcome. I trust this guy. Everything's gonna be all right. So my popcorn is, everyone's gonna prosper, and I'm watching. Let's watch together. Before we move to the last news, I would like to ask you a favor. Please, just to let you know, please forgive my sarcasm. Without sarcasm, it would be really hard to deliver some things, So, a favor. First of all, if you haven't liked this video, and if you like it, please hit the like button. Press that. Boom. Second, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, because every Wednesday I come up with a wacky Wednesday news report, every Friday, crazy Friday news report, and every day I do live streams and videos, except for Saturdays. Saturdays I actually do a live stream as well, but it's only for patrons of Inside Russia. We do a personal hangout type, virtual pub type of live stream, very personal, very relaxed, very nice. So that's for patrons only. And of course, you can always join and become patron, and you get access to the live stream, and you will like it, I promise. So now, please, another favor is select 1, 2, or 3 news, any amount you like, and please let me know, the news that you like the most, and please let me know what they are. Anything you liked more, and perhaps something you didn't like, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate that very much. Feedback is hugely important to me. Thank you. The last news, the start of the massive corporate defaults has just been given. Garant Invest. It's a large Russian developer and commercial real estate operator. It employs over 1,000 people, and it attracts around 40 million customers to its multiple properties, large shopping malls, business centers, stores, mega stores, and so forth. So 40 million visitors annually, 1,000 people working full-time. And the developer has just announced default that have caused damage to investors in the amount of 10.5 billion rubles. That's about $120 million. This will be followed by an avalanche of corporate defaults and a so-called nuclear winter in the bond market. The reason is the inability to work profitably with shrinking demand, shrinking economy, and an exorbitant interest rate for corporate loaning. The real estate market is one of the most vulnerable in this current situation, in this current recession, where in Russia is balancing somewhere between recession and stagflation. So, this is the first default. Garant Invest, shopping centers, Moskvorечье, Retail Park, Tulsky, Kolominsky, Pražský Grad, Pirova Mall, Airport Gallery. If you have ever been to Moscow, if you have spent at least some time in Moscow, you have seen one of those shopping malls. Guaranteed. They're large. They're all over Moscow. Currently, the developer's obligations are trading at 25% of face value, which indicates that markets' lack of confidence in the issuer's ability to pay off creditors. The next large default was also allowed by the state-owned company called Rosnano, the short for Russian nanotechnology. The gigantic corporation that has existed for a decade and a half and literally has not delivered one single product to the market. It was created to promote Russian nanotechnologies, whatever that is, I don't really know. Perhaps they are so tiny, no one can see them and no one can describe them because of that, okay? It was headed by one of Putin's closest friends, Anatoly Chubais, one of the people who played a key role in bringing Vladimir Putin to power. Well, since beginning of the war, Anatoly Chubais fell out of favor. He left Russia. He fled to Israel, and the rumors have it he is in England right now. So anyway, Rosnano did not pay the coupon yield on one of series of its bonds on time, and the time was March 31st. The debt amounts to 1,005 million rubles, and that is roughly $12 million, which isn't much, but this is just the beginning for Rosnano. It's not the only bond that's going to default. Rosnano has many bonds issued, and with no money in flow, obviously it has nothing to pay back. This is insane. So that's number two. And an unhonorable mentioning today goes to Russia's largest real estate developer, Samolyot. It hasn't allowed a default yet, but it has started massive layoffs of its employees, and the rumors have it the majority of employees are being let go. Defaulting and bankruptcy is knocking on Samolyot's door. The meltdown has begun. And it's not a matter of when, but it's a matter of how much money, how many people will lose now. This is one of the phases of the economic tsunami I've been talking about. And it's a very big and ugly phase because the defaults will be in large amounts and they're going to be influencing industries, not just people or private investors, industries and the state and the taxpayers. And you know what? Right after these companies will start defaulting more and more, guess who's next? Commercial banks. Oh boy. We are seeing the meltdown as this is beginning right now. Waiting for more bankruptcies coming soon. Please keep on tuning in for more news from Russia that you will not find anywhere in the Western media. Carthago delenda est.